I was just a kid, 15 or 16, Justin Bieber leans forward, his eyes shining with both memory and excitement. Diddy invited me to his private party at his mansion in Miami. He said, "Bro, this is going to be a night you'll never forget. The night that changed everything." The guests arrived one after another, athletes, rappers, models, businessmen nobody knows about but who have more money than the stars of show business. Security was stationed around the perimeter, and only a select few were allowed in. They were all there, Rick Ross, Kanye, Chris Brown, even Beyoncé, who flashed by for a moment before disappearing into the VIP area. The atmosphere is like in old Hollywood movies, only with huge stacks of cash and bottles of champagne for tens of thousands of dollars. Justin pauses, as if remembering something. But the most interesting thing began after 1 in the morning. After 1 in the morning the atmosphere became different. Justin Bieber clasps his hands, as if considering whether to tell him this at all. Diddy came up to me, put his arm around my shoulders and said, "You're in the real adult world now, kid." The huge mansion turned out to be a labyrinth of rooms where everything imaginable was happening. It felt like you were either part of this madness, or a guest who accidentally looked behind the scenes of something you shouldn't see. Each room is a separate scene. One has girls in hanging chairs drinking from gold goblets, the other has people in black masks discussing something too serious for a party. I even saw someone bring in a suitcase with, well, let's just say it wasn't just clothes. Bieber glances away, clearly not wanting to go into details. "You're going to be a legend now." At one point, Diddy led him to a pool where hundreds of dollar bills were floating on the water and girls in expensive jewelry were diving after them, laughing. He poured me a drink and said, "You're going to be a legend now, bro." I hadn't been drinking at the time, but when you're standing in front of someone who has everything, it's hard to say no. Justin pauses, as if weighing his words. But then I saw something that made me leave. I couldn't stay there any longer. I was about to leave when I overheard 2 security guards arguing by the door at the end of the hall. They looked tense, whispering something quickly. One of them saw me and immediately started walking towards me. "You shouldn't see this, Justin," he said and blocked my way. But I was 16. I was on the rise, everyone knew me, and I already felt like I could do whatever I wanted. So I just laughed and said, "Oh, okay, Diddy invited me here." Then the door opened. And what I saw inside was unlike any party I'd ever been to before. Behind the closed door. The room was dark, only the blue neon light illuminated people's faces. I saw a few famous rappers and businessmen sitting in deep leather chairs, and in front of them. Justin hesitates, as if he still can't decide whether to tell. In front of them stood a young guy, even younger than me. He looked scared, but Diddy had his arm around his shoulders and was whispering something in his ear. Those sitting in the chairs were watching intently. Bieber swallows. I don't know what exactly was happening, but it was wrong. Something about the scene made me feel cold. Then one of the men turned, saw me, and said, "Who let this kid in here?" Diddy turned and quickly walked over to me. "It's okay, he's mine," he said, but there was something hard in his voice, like a warning. Then he put his hand on my shoulder and whispered, "You didn't see anything. Get out." And I got out. Escape from the mansion. I didn't think about any fun anymore. I just wanted to get out of there. At the exit, one of Diddy's assistants jumped up to me and thrust an envelope into my hand. "It's just a gift," he said. In the envelope was a wad of hundreds. I didn't take a single dollar. I just threw it on the table and ran. The next morning I woke up in my hotel room, and it felt like I had been run over by a train. Not physically, but mentally. I was just sitting in bed, staring out the window at the ocean, trying to figure out what the hell had happened last night. My phone was flooded with messages. Diddy had written, "Great party, huh, bro? Remember, we're all here as one big family." See you soon. For some reason, those words made my chest feel even colder. A warning from nowhere. That day, I decided I wouldn't tell anyone about this. But within a few hours, I realized that I wouldn't even have to keep quiet, others would decide everything for me. I was sitting in the hotel restaurant when a man in an expensive suit approached me. His face didn't look familiar, but his style was definitely the same as the guests at the party. "You're young and talented, Justin," he said, sitting down opposite me. "You still have a lot of heights to conquer. But there are things you shouldn't remember." I looked at him and tried to pretend I didn't understand what he was talking about. "Great," he smiled. "I wish you success." And I just left. That same evening, my manager called me. "Diddy wants to give you something cool. He says you deserve it." The next day, a new Cadillac Escalade was parked in front of my house. Why am I telling you this now? I don't know how to explain it, but after that night I began to notice that I was being followed. At first it seemed like paranoia. But one day I was in a club when I saw the same man from the restaurant again. He was just standing in a dark corner and looking at me. I broke down. I started partying harder, drinking more, doing stupid things. Everyone thought it was just the pressure of fame. But I just wanted to forget. Bieber pauses, takes a deep breath. And you know what the scariest thing is? They never said anything outright. But I always felt this subtle hint: if you talk, your career will be over. The more I tried to forget that night, the more it haunted me. Justin clenches his fingers, as if trying to calm his trembling. I was partying hard, getting high, doing crazy things. But every night, when I was alone, memories of that room, that guy, the looks on people's faces would flash through my head. After that party, Diddy continued to support me. He gave me expensive things, invited me to private meetings. And I went. Because it was easier. It was easier to pretend that nothing had happened. But that night in Los Angeles changed everything. Warning in the dark. It was 2014, I was staying in a luxury penthouse in Beverly Hills. That night, I came home from another party, drunk again. I went into my bedroom and was about to fall onto my bed when I noticed a silhouette standing on the balcony. I was suddenly sobered. "Who's there?" I shouted, fumbling for my phone. The silhouette slowly turned around. It was the same man in the suit who had approached me at the restaurant. "Long time no see, Justin," he said in a calm voice. "How did you get here?" He just smiled. "Listen, kid, I'll give you some advice. Some things are better left in the past. Forget it. It'll be better for everyone." I was really scared. "Are you threatening me?" No, my friend. It's not a threat. It's friendly advice." And he just left. The next day I packed up and flew to Canada. Confession on the edge. That's why I'm telling you this now. Justin looked straight into the camera. "I'm not afraid anymore. I've seen enough." He takes a deep breath. They control everything. Careers, money, connections. They know how to destroy those who get in their way. I was just a kid when I came into this world, and I've seen what happens to those who speak up. But I'm tired of being silent. The camera captures Justin running his hand over his face, his eyes red, his voice shaking. "You all know me as a successful artist. But you don't know what I've been through. I can't keep it to myself anymore." He pauses, swallows, and finally says what he's been hiding for so long. "I was just a kid. When I was 15, Diddy started protecting me. He invited me to expensive dinners, parties, gave me cars, promised that I would become the new legend. But I didn't understand that it was a trap." Justin clenches his fists. "At one of the parties, I found myself in a room where, God, things were being done that weren't supposed to happen. I saw young boys who were brought in like toys. I saw the adults in the industry pressuring them, promising them mountains of gold, and instead. He stops, breathing heavily. It was evil. Pure evil. And they wanted me to be a part of it. When I tried to escape, they started breaking me. Justin leans forward, his hands shaking. When I refused to play by their rules, everything started to fall apart. They made me look like an unbalanced teenager. My scandals, my arrests, my drugs, do you think it was an accident? They were pushing me to the bottom. They wanted to break me. He grits his teeth. And it's not just me. They've done it to a lot of people. I've seen stars either comply or disappear. Remember what happened to Chris Brown? Britney Spears? Michael Jackson? Justin looks up at the camera. They control Hollywood. They make and break careers. And if they don't want you, they just write you off. I know something could happen to me after this. I'm not afraid anymore. I know they might try to silence me after this interview. But I have to say it. He leans closer to the camera. Hollywood is a trap. What you see on TV is just a facade. And behind it, darkness. Justin wipes his face with his hand. If you're watching this, then I'm still alive. But who knows what tomorrow will bring. The camera pans back to Justin. He looks exhausted, but his eyes are determined. He takes a deep breath and seems ready to finally tell you everything. You want to know the truth? Okay. I don't play by their rules anymore. They tried to break me for years, but I survived. And now I'm going to tell you who they are. Who's behind this? It's not just P. Diddy. He's just one of them. There's a whole network of people in the music industry, in Hollywood, in politics, who control everything. They make stars, they break them. And they do things that ordinary people don't even know about. Justin pauses, looks straight into the camera. They invite young artists to closed parties. They test how willing you are to play by their rules. And if you agree, they give you everything, money, fame, influence. But if you refuse, he clenches his fist sharply. They do everything they can to make you look crazy. They destroy your reputation, they run smear campaigns against you, they plant drugs, they make random arrests. I've seen them break people. I've seen stars lose everything because they said no, some couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. And some just disappeared. Why am I talking about this now? Because I'm tired of being afraid. Because there's no point in staying silent anymore. And because I know I'm not alone. Justin takes another deep breath. Have you ever wondered why everyone who tries to uncover the truth either dies or ends up in mental hospitals? Why do those who say too much then apologize and say they just exaggerated? Because they're afraid. Because they are being silenced. He looks away for a second, as if checking to see if he is being followed. But this time they won't succeed. What happens next? After this interview, something might happen to me. You might see news reports that I have lost my mind or am in rehab. But know this, that is a lie. If I suddenly, accidentally, get into an accident or am found in a hotel room, know this, it was no accident. Justin leans closer to the camera, his voice quieter, but even more intense. They don't just control me. They control you. They control what you see, what you listen to, what you believe. But all of that is starting to fall apart now. I will not remain silent. I know that after this my life will never be the same again. But I am finally free. He raises his head, and there is no longer any fear in his eyes. You can be free too. Just open your eyes. Red circle. The interview abruptly ends. The connection is lost.